There's mosquitoes on the river. Fishes rising up like birds. And it's been hot for 7 weeks now. Too hot to even speak now. But you're here when I just heard. See, it might have been a fiddle. Or it could have been the wind. Well, there seems to be a beat now. I can feel it in my feet now. Listen, here it comes again.
There's a band out on the highway. They're high stepping into town. It's a rainbow for the sound. It's fireworks and monkeys and clowns. Everybody's dancing. Come on, children, come on, children, come on and clap your hands.
Well, the sun went down in honey, and the moon came up in wild. And the stars were spinning dizzy, well, the band kept us so busy. We forgot about the time. There are band bell descriptions, like Jehovah's favorite choir. People joining hand in hand while the music plays the band. Well, they're setting us on fire. Ain't the rooster crowing midnight? All the lightning blow along. Old men sing about their dreams. Women laugh and children scream. And the band keeps playing on.
Keep on dancing through the daylight. Keep on dancing song. No one's noticed, but the band's all back and gone.
Will they ever hear it all? Come on, dancing. Come on, children, come on, children, come on and clap your hands. Well, the good breeze came on Tuesday, and the bones of rubber cry. And the day was full of dancing, full of singing and romancing. The music never stopped.
Hey guys. Turn my stereo off there. Allie's here. Garofalo's here. Zoe, thanks for taking the quiz 19 times. Lily Corral. Hold on for a second. Who's Yearland? Hi guys. Hi. I have a visitor here. Yeah, I don't know who this person is. Hold on, give me a second. Give me a second. All right, I'll stop. Yeah, I don't know who that is. Here, come here. Sorry, I'm distracted for a second. You want to say hi? Oh, come here. Say hi. Say hi.
Can you say hi? G wave. Can you wave? Blow kiss. Blow kiss.
Put it down.
Down. You don't want to be here anymore?
Okay, she's done. All right. Hey, guys. Who found the channel? I don't know. I put the link in my Instagram feed, and maybe I shouldn't have done that. No distractions are allowed if that's that. Mintaka, happy Ramadan. Is it started yesterday? Is that true? It's John who? Yeah, you shouldn't have done that. Okay, I'll take it. I don't, I thought it would be easy for everybody. John. Yeah, it started Friday. Well, happy Ramadan. So that's cool. It was Jeff. My birthday's on Saturday. I turned 12. Oh, cool. Happy birthday. A quarantine birthday. You can have like a parade or everything. Okay. Google Meets would be 10,000 times better. I'm getting old. Do we want to try that instead of YouTube? I just get so distracted with everybody on Google Meet that maybe maybe I should try that. It just with all the little boxes, I'm too distracted. You guys know that I'm distractible anyway. Yes. No, yes. Let me, you know what? Let me try that on Wednesday instead of YouTube. Okay. You can turn off their cameras. Google Meets. Nothing. Hoppy wants to do YouTube. Let me try, maybe let me try Google Meet again on Wednesday. It was just so distracting last time. I was going, so the more people on Google Meet, the more laggy it is. Yeah, I don't know. So far, this seems to be working okay. And the one thing about Google Meet is that I'm not sure that you could save it, but maybe you can. I'm not sure. Anyway, so it's good to see everybody. Let me go back through. I got super distracted by whoever Yearland is. So I told all of you it wasn't Jeff, and none of you believe me. Cool. Anyway, and you could record the meme. Okay. All right. Anyway, let me just get going here. Oz, you could record. All right. Let me try that on Wednesday. We'll do that, and if it works better, we'll stick with the Google Meet. And I'll take the link off, and it's kind of protected on Google Classroom, which is cool. Did Kim Jong-un die or not? Well, that's actually an interesting question. So I've been reading things about Kim Jong-un potentially dying for like 6 days now. You guys know from my class that the media is controlled by the government in North Korea. So, who knows? The guy could be dead. He could not be. What I've read is that they asked China to send doctors to North Korea to help because he had some sort of cardiovascular heart issue. So they're following. He travels by train, and the United States government or somebody is following where the train is located because, by satellite, by like a spy satellite almost. And the train is in the spot where it should be, but that doesn't mean that he's alive. And he wasn't at some anniversary for his grandfather's birthday recently. So who knows? China said he's dead. Again, with China, whether or not you could trust China's media, that's another thing. Cal Brown's home from Florida. Sims 4 has been loading for like 30. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. And, it's cool to talk about things that are happening in the real world currently that match up with social studies. And so that happens. And I'm glad that we spent so much time in North Korea because it was so, the guy didn't leave. I muted him. Anyway, we're studying a new unit today. It's the Middle Ages. All right. So this can kind of be confusing, and it's a shame that I got to teach it this way, digitally, but it is what it is. So the Middle Ages is, it's referred to by a bunch of different things. So it could either be called medieval times, the Dark Ages, or the Middle Ages. And the Middle Ages refers to Europe in between the fall of the Roman Empire and Columbus discovering America. So supposedly not a lot happened during the Middle Ages. And that's kind of true, but it's also kind of not true. And so the government and everything during the Middle Ages was very, very, very different. Okay. This could be kind of confusing. So maybe if we could stop the comments for 10 minutes and you guys could listen, I'll try to explain this as best as possible. Okay. So Middle Ages, like I had said before, is, let me try to think. This light right here is, this one right here is irritating. Like I said before, the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages or medieval times, it all means the same thing. Refers to the time after the Roman Empire fell, but before Columbus discovered America. So think, moats and castles and kings and queens and princesses and stuff like that. The bubonic plague, think the plague doctor with the bird mask, that happened during this time. Kings and nobles and common people, exactly, Edwin Taka. So that's this time. Okay, so let me set the stage for you. After Rome fell apart, there were all these common people without a government, and so people scrambled for protection. Okay, the most powerful people during this time were people that owned land. So without government and with all of these roaming bands of robbers and Vikings, it was a very, very dangerous time. So whenever it's dangerous, people kind of scramble for protection. The people that had money and the people that had power were landowners. Okay. So basically the landowners worked out a deal with the common people, and they said, look, you could live on my land, and in exchange, I'll protect you. It was a pretty simple idea. Okay. So it was an interesting social structure. And we're going to talk about that now. Something, it's not doctors for the plague. No, the bird mask is something different. So, anyway, the medieval times is basically, instead of all these things happening, like during the medieval times, unlike ancient Rome and ancient Greece and ancient Mesopotamia and ancient China, where we learned about different inventions and different developments, not a whole heck of a lot happened during the Middle Ages because people were struggling and scrambling for safety and just for survival. Okay. I've said this 100 times in class before. You can't be creative. You can't develop these grand works of architecture, art, or poetry or something if you don't know where your next meal is coming from. So during the Middle Ages, after the fall of the Roman Empire, the people were just scrambling for safety, scrambling for food. Okay. So not a lot of reading and writing examples during this time, not a lot of examples of grand architecture. It's just like, it's fully survival mode. Okay. So with constant threats to invaders, Europe was divided into tiny, tiny, tiny small kingdoms. Okay. These are called manors. All right. The feudal system was the form of government at the time. It was like a social system and it was a form of government. So basically the feudal system was pretty simple. At the top of the feudal system were kings or queens, depending on who was in control. Those kings were basically landowners. They had the land, they had money, and they basically said, hey, come live on my land, but you have to work for me. And then the triangle kind of goes down. I said in the beginning of the year, I'll draw the triangle on the board 1,000,000 times. That's kind of what I should be doing right now. So at the top of the pyramid, do I have it? Is the king. Okay. Underneath them are a bunch of different social classes. The king is the most powerful. Lords, they control the land. Knights are professional warriors. And then the peasants and the townspeople, they kind of feed and work for everybody. Okay. So everything goes up the ladder. The king promises land for everybody. The knights promise protection for everybody. The peasants and townspeople, they provide food and goods and services. And in exchange, they get protection from the king and get protection from the knights. So it's like a one hand washes the other kind of system. Okay. Yeah. So this is kind of, Cal, thank you for saying that. It is a little bit confusing. All right. I wish that I could explain this better. I had a fun activity if we were in class with M&Ms to show how it works, but we're here. So it is what it is. So the feudal system was government. All right. And this section right here is important when you're answering the questions that are due on Wednesday. So most common social system or way to organize people in medieval Europe was this feudal system. Okay. Most powerful people were kings and queens. They owned the land. Okay. If you had land in the Middle Ages, you had power. That's pretty much it. Okay. Nobles controlled the land that was owned by the king or queen. They were like the managers. Okay. They were the people that oversaw everything. Okay. Think about it. Think about the structure in the same way our school is. Like, it's Mr. Briggs, and then it's all the teachers, and then it's you guys. Okay. So Briggs oversees everybody. The teachers oversee you, and you guys are just kind of there. Okay. Nobles were pledged military service to the king. The peasants or serfs had to provide food and materials to both the kings and the nobles. So without the people on the bottom, the serfs, the common people, the whole structure wouldn't work. And they kind of sent their goods and everything up the ladder. Okay. So the feudal system is basically a form of government. Okay. It's kind of like a monarchy where the king is the ruler, but everybody is an important in the government. Without one part, it would all fall apart. Kings promised to treat nobles with honor. The duty of the kings was to protect the nobles. If a kid of a noble died or something bad happened, the king would, protect them. Nobles were expected to lead armies. Many of them were professional soldiers. So we had the ruler, the protectors, and then the people that provided for everyone. Okay. On a manor system, and there were thousands and thousands of these everywhere around Europe. So after the Roman Empire fell apart and there wasn't a government that was protecting everybody, everybody went to live on like these little tiny manors. And all these manors were, hold on for a second. I know. Hi. I have a visitor again. Sorry, guys. Hi, G. Hi. So there was thousands and thousands of these manors everywhere. Okay, and so if you ever look at a map of Europe, that's kind of why there were so many. She talks now. It's kind of funny. We'll talk afterward. A manor, controlled by the land. This was pretty much the whole outlet. The king would live in the manor house. There was a baker, there was a blacksmith, there was a barn. The village where the commoners would live were right here. Church, priest's house, fall planting, spring planting, fallow field, orchards. This was the structure of pretty much every manor system. So a manor system was the way that money was organized, and the feudal system was the way that people organized their government, organized their society. Okay. So thousands of these everywhere. Instead of big towns, like ancient Rome had 1 million people in it. Instead of that happening, the majority of people lived on a manor similar to this. Okay. Here's just another overhead shot of one. This kind of been grown over. Thought it was kind of cool. This is where I'm going to talk about cycling for a second, but in European cycling races, they're filmed by helicopters, and you see examples of manor systems everywhere. It's these towns that are kind of walled off, and in the town, have like inside the walls, there's everything that you would possibly need in a town. So feudalism was the way that Europeans organized power and government. Like I was saying, king had the most power, and then it was nobles and knights, and then it was serfs and peasants at the bottom. The manor system was the way they organized economy and money. Okay. System was based on the manor. It was a big, large piece of land. And it includes farm fields and pastures and an entire village. So thousands of these individual manors all around Europe. Okay. The manors were self-sufficient. So whenever, like, if something was used on a manor, if something was eaten, if something was worn, if something was produced and used, it was made on the manor. During this time in history, especially in Europe during the Middle Ages, trade was very dangerous. So instead of trade going all around the Mediterranean area, all around Europe, like in ancient Rome, there was no trade, or there was very little. To step off of the manor was dangerous. Okay. The common people needed protection, and the only way the king could provide that is by keeping people on the manor. So manors were totally self-sufficient during this time. So if you're kind of figuring this out, we went backwards. So Mesopotamia, trade. Ancient Greece, trade. Ancient Rome, ton of trade. During the Middle Ages, that kind of stopped in Western Europe. Okay. This was the predominant way to organize everything. The people stayed on these manors, lived and died on the manors. If a king happened to take over a manor from another king, the serfs kind of became property of the other king. Okay. So this is, kind of stepping backwards from where everybody was in Europe during the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire kept everybody in check. And the manor system was the opposite of that. King depend. So everybody, kings or lords or knights or peasants or townspeople, they all depended on each other, and they all had a job. Kind of like in our society today, it's not really that much different. So the king, landowner, gave people a place to live. Lords kind of oversaw everything. Knights were the warriors. Peasants and townspeople, they fed everyone. I remember asking a question in social studies, like, who's the most important part of the social structure? Well, it's not the kings, because without the farmers, the kings wouldn't exist. So they all helped each other. A king had to treat everybody below him very well, because without the people below him, he wouldn't have anything. A king's wealth depended on the man, what they created on the manor. Okay. A king would also create laws. He would act as a judge. He would oversee jobs and daily work. All those living and working within the manor paid taxes to the king. Taxes was not literally money. If you were a blacksmith, you'd provide your goods to the king or send it up the social ladder. If you were a farmer, your tax would be paid in the food that you grew. Okay, so the king needed everybody else, and everybody needed the king. The king had the most power, but without the lower class people, the king wouldn't function. The majority of people during this time, as evident from my ladder, and the reason why this is the biggest group is because it's the most common. Majority of people in the Middle Ages were serfs. Okay, a serf is just it's a vocabulary term. It was a farmer or a laborer. It would be like a common person or like a plebeian, like in ancient Rome. They farmed the Lord's fields. They provided food for the manor. They were allowed to grow food for themselves, but the majority of the food that they grew went to someone else or went to the manor. Okay, kind of like a farmer now. A farmer grows a lot of food, maybe 1% of it they keep for themselves to eat. Serfs were property of the Lord. Okay, so if a king took over another manor, the serfs kind of stayed there. So the common people of the Middle Ages generally just stayed on the manor their entire lives. It was dangerous to leave, and they didn't have any reason to leave. Okay, so a little bit confused. This is kind of different. Think of it like a text structure thing where it was like, building and building, Greece and then Rome, and then it collapses, and then we have the Middle Ages. So Middle Ages start at the fall of the Roman Empire, end at the discovery of America, And the most common form of government during this time was the feudal system. The feudal system is basically a king has power, they allow people to live on the land, and everyone else works for the king. Okay, so there was these thousands of little towns everywhere in Western Europe. Eastern Europe, kind of fine. Western Europe, feudal system the entire time. Okay, so that's pretty much it. All right. Not a lot happened during the Middle Ages because, again, like I said before, if you're just worrying about where your next meal is coming from, if you're worried about protection, people are not going to be able to spend time producing and inventing new things. Okay. In other places in the world, especially places that were controlled by the Muslims, tremendous advances in science and technology at this time. In Eastern Europe, not much. I don't know who's disliking my page. All right. Anyway, that is it. Read things carefully. There's a lot of text. The questions that I gave you for Wednesday are very, very, very specific. So just a couple confusing things like the manor system versus the feudal system. Just know the differences between those. Okay. We created coffee, and thank God for coffee. And thank God for coffee. All right, you guys are good. Anyway, yeah. Let me go back through. There's a lot of people saying shush. You guys are ridiculous sometimes. I can't. Yes, when talking, my daughter talks now. She says certain stuff. I would say she knows about like 30 words, and she's starting to like put them together in sentences, which is kind of cool. Finally we could talk. Like, wait a minute. The live stream was 26 minutes. It legit felt like 10. Oh, Anthony, because my content that I give you is such high quality that it's time flies, What was her first word? It was dada. My wife says it was mama, but like she said it mama at like 4 months old, that's not the case. Your daughter is cute. She is cute. I spent a lot of time today reading books, including P is for Potty, where Elmo shows his baby cousin how to use the potty, and then his baby cousin has an accident. Elmo says that's okay. It happens to everybody sometimes. Anyway, that's that. What do we got going on? Yeah, like I said, Wednesday, I will try to do I'll try to do the Google Meet instead. Okay, just to see how that goes. I'm too distractible. All those little boxes, I can't follow a thought. So like this kind of works better. Brits gave us tea, Queen, Beatles, and Bowie. So like Britain more than America. Okay, and Boris Johnson. It's funny that Boris Johnson changed his tune on the coronavirus. He went from shaking hands and insisting on shaking hands with everyone to getting the coronavirus to all of a sudden saying that it's very dangerous. That's being a father right there. Yeah, well, that's my job. Fell asleep at 4 in the morning. Man, it's like summer vacation for you guys, except it's April. Anyway, so yeah, just my suggestion is just to go through when you're answering the questions, if you haven't done it already, go through carefully because this could kind of be confusing. It's a total new style of government. Before you leave, someone say something positive, something that you learned or did, something happy, other than not falling in a well. Okay, done that. It takes a virus to stop Boris. Apparently, he was insistent upon. Oh no, I could see myself twice. He was insistent upon like shaking everybody's hand, but apparently he was very, very, very sick. Part of my political views, but I don't like him very much. That's your freedom to say that. You don't have to say that. That's your political view, and you're free to say that. I learned how to do a backflip on my trampoline. Good for you. Use your arms to flip you over. Don't crane your head back. It's my coaching thing. I made pasta for when I break my fat. Cool. Is it like homemade pasta, or you talked about like you boil the pasta and dump the sauce in? I didn't die on the way home from Florida. Your dad drove the whole way? You probably drove him nuts, man. Hey Jude on the guitar, but that's like it. We got to start somewhere. That's more than anybody else can do. Work for the week. Nice, Lily. Almost done for all your work for the week. If you guys just space it out, it's fine. You know, it's very easy to tell who like waits to the last second to do something. Got a ton of work to do. Good. Bought 3 Beatles books. Yeah, I heard about that. Someone, yeah, I know about that. You boiled the pasta. I think I'm gonna make homemade pasta tomorrow. Like, literally make the noodles myself. Shoot over my back in the cross. Nice. Had to delete TikTok because of Ramadan. Cool. I had to get off of most of social media because it was starting to drive me crazy. So yeah, from scratch, Bridget. We've been my wife and I. Yeah, I don't mean to like brag, but we're both pretty good cooks. My wife is a much better cook than me, but we're gonna try that out. I mean, we have the time, so. P.S. The beats in their songs not anything to do with the actual bug. Yeah, I know. I had no idea that's the case. Yeah, so we're gonna try that tomorrow. We've been baking bread. We made like a beautiful garlic cheddar bread. You know, we like mix everything together and bake it ourselves. You know, there's only one. Yeah, some of you guys are disliking my videos. Like, what's with that? All right. Anyway, yeah, that's it. I'm glad to see you guys. So, the way that so I'm gonna be hopeful here. Okay, I'm gonna be hopeful for a second, and the way that things are looking, at least in my opinion, this is not based on anything, but it might look like we could get back sometime this year. I really, this is me crossing my fingers. Oh, also the research project, Roth and Krukar and I are going to assign it in our individual homerooms pretty soon. Okay, so mid-May. Our thought was a second wave. Yeah, probably, but I'm hopeful that we get back. I don't know. So I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. I'm trying to think positively. I never got to wear my Clarks to school, and I'm kind of sad because I got them at Goodwill for $7, and they're Clarks, so they're normally expensive. Okay. Yeah. Well, you can wear them next year. Some people are blind and they press the dislike button on accident. Oh, it's Anthony's trying to make me feel better. Yeah, a bunch of people are gonna die. Look, I don't know, man. This is kind of scary to me, but I'm hopeful. You know, not a lot of people in Syracuse have it. You know, like, and we watch the news updates every day, and you know, I'm just trying to be positive, guy. I really, really, really hope that I get to see you guys again in class. That's my. You've heard me say that a million times now. Some people are watching this video crying on how cool it is, and they press the wrong one. Yeah, thanks. So, all right, I get it. All right. Anyway, look, I'm gonna try to set up a Google Meet for Wednesday, and we'll do that, and we'll see how that goes. Okay. Garofalo. Antonio. I don't know why I call him Anthony. I'm losing my mind. So I'm going to try to do that. If it doesn't work or I can't get it to work the way that I want, just look on Google Classroom on social studies on all your individual blocks, and I'll message you there and I'll let you know exactly what I'm going to do. If I'm going to do one of these again or if I'm going to do that. Okay. I started to play Sim City again yesterday. It's not Sim 4, but it's like when you actually build the cities. That's cool. But I got bored. I went back to video games. I haven't played video games in forever. Now I'm playing video games again. So anyway, cool. I'm gonna go have dinner. Anyway, let me finish my thought. I'm very hopeful. It is looking like there is a possibility we could come back this year. That's it. Okay. Mintaka, happy Ramadan. You have another, what, 2 hours, 2 hours and 10 minutes before you could eat. Is that true? When's the sun go down today? Like 7:40-ish, I bet. Watch it not happen, though. Maybe. Allie, anything could happen. I told you, I'm trying to be positive here. Cool. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Well, what do I always say? Stay positive, stay healthy, stay engaged, stay active, but in a safe way. And 8:05, she's counting down. So do you have like a big, so is everybody cooking and getting ready for the 8:05 thing? Like, are you preparing the meal all day and then you sit down right at 8:05? So what do you do? Anything could happen, Bridget. You're right. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. And luckily for Bridget, we have someone keeping track of what day it is, A or B. Cool. Cook all day, kind of like in my house too. So, all right. Yeah, I'll try for Google Meet on Wednesday, and actually we could talk like this face to face. Maybe we talk about music. I don't know. Bring an album or a band you want to talk about. We'll just have some fun because what else are we doing? All right. Take care of yourselves, guys. I miss you. Be good. Do your work. Be nice to your parents. Cal Brown, I don't know, especially. I'll see you later.